Welcome to the November the 24th, 1992 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie, Texas, as we bring you the history of Grand Prairie and some of the folks that have made it very, very exciting. This is our history tape number 183. We are very excited today to bring you a retired fire chief that was honored last Friday, November the 20th, at the 75th anniversary or birthday of our Grand Prairie Fire Department. And in so honoring him, we asked J.C. Swadley, this wonderful, wonderful retired chief, to come back and be with us today. And we are documenting some of the wonderful things that happened with a show and tell pictorially. This is the pictorial trail of the Grand Prairie Fire Department, according to J.C. Swadley Jr. J.C., welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Miss Jackson. Glad to be here.
All righty. Let's begin our pictorial review with a picture of old downtown Grand Prairie, and tell us when this was, please, sir.
This picture is Main Street of Grand Prairie looking east in 1909. On my left is a Mr. Stubbs'
livery stable.
Livery stable that he had there.
A blacksmith shop?
Blacksmith shop and all.
Yes.
On Main Street.
Oh, right.
This is back in 1909.
I noticed that there are a lot of ruts, and that must have been just a dirt road, right?
That's what my dad and them said, yes. It was just all dirt.
Downtown Grand Prairie.
That's right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's go on to our second shot, and I think that has a lot of history as far as your family is concerned. Would you like to tell us about that as you show and tell?
Yes, thank you. This is a water tower that was located on North Street. North Street is just, of course, north of Main Street, and Mr. Moore drilled a well and installed this water system. In 1915, my dad, J.C. Swadley Sr., purchased this equipment in the tower from Mr. Moore, and he laid some 2-inch water lines up to the Baptist Church on Church Street and up to his building on Main Street, and some of the neighbors have been about a block or two around. But this was the first water, except there was a Mr. Leggett who lived on Hill Street, had a water well and a water tank that he did serve some of the neighbors at that time.
That's wonderful. You had some good competition going there. One on Hill Street and one on Moore Street. Oh,
sure
that's
did,
great. Oh, this is a priceless old photograph. And J.C., we may have to kind of really hornswoggle things to be able to get that where it will not be a glare on the glass.
Thank
as
you.
Brad Utter, our cameraman, gets a shot on that. Brad, do you think maybe you could pan that in real close and start from one side to the other, because there's some wonderful, wonderful old faces in this photograph. Tell us what year that was, J.C.
1925, and this was made on Northeast 2nd Street, right off of Main, and the background is a First Baptist Church that was a building there, and that happens to be my baby brother as a little mascot. He was 5 years old. The gentleman on my left at the front fender of that apparatus right there is Mr. Jess Small. He was the first volunteer fire chief in 1917, and from those days on, the men would elect someone to be a fire chief, and it was a great organization. And my father is standing between the two fire trucks with a white helmet on right there. My dad is between those men at the back of those fire trucks.
What kind of trucks are these, J.C.?
Those were Rio speed wagons, and they were bought in 22 and 23, and they served Grand Prairie up until 39 before they installed or purchased some more fire apparatuses.
Wonderful. All right, let's go to the next picture that you have for us, and we'll take a look at that, and we'll let you show and tell about that exciting one.
This picture, if we can keep where Brad can make. Now, that's great. This picture is in the 300 block or the 200 block of East Main Street at my father's garage and repair shop and storage building. And he housed the fire department or the protection for the community from 1921 to 1949. And these are the volunteers, and this equipment is being moved from his building to West Main Street in the 300 block to our new fire station that the citizens built for the community.
And the little bitty, looks like a Ford in the middle of that. What is that?
That in the middle right there is one of them. On the left of that white and red type fire truck is a 1921 American LaFrance pumper that Grand Prairie had. And inside the door, you will see a gentleman sitting up high there. He is going to drive the aero truck out of that building to the new fire station that Grand Prairie let us buy from Dallas when it was after they had it was second-handed, and we purchased it and made us a fire aero ladder truck.
What was the date of this photograph?
This was Halloween night in October of '49.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was Halloween night.
JC, you have a wonderful recall on numbers and things, but that's important to the fire department. Now, can you show and tell that and get the glare off of that with Brad?
Yes, great. Can you see that?
Yes, that looks good.
This picture I'm also proud of. That is our central fire station in our background. And we have brought into this station our fire apparatuses from number 2 station and made us a group picture. There's 2 American LaFrance fire trucks that the city bought for us. They're a 51 and a 55 that we were all proud of because they were called Class A trucks, and they did make wonderful protection for the community. And we have our older fire apparatuses there. And on my right, this part right there, there's an automobile. It's a 57 model Chevrolet 4-door that they bought the fire department. I was so proud to drive it for the city as being the fire chief.
You were the chief during that time.
When they bought that car.
All right, now this is one that I really enjoy especially. I'd like for you to show and tell about that little jewel.
This is something that we were all proud of. Miss Jackson was, I know. This is a 59 Ford chassis, and my dad and my uncle was a carpenter, and in this garage building they built the hose bed, the running boards, the seats, and trimmed it. And when we say trimmed, that means we put all of the colors on it. Thank you. And it was one of our best little fire trucks at that time because we only had the 2 real speed wagons, but they did. And in '39 they were building North American Aviation in Grand Prairie, which is Vault now. And our government realized that they had to have some protection because people were coming to visit and to stay in Grand Prairie.
So you got rid of this one, and it went a long way away, didn't it?
It certainly did. Maybank Volunteer Fire Department bought this truck from Grand Prairie, and they used it for their protection, and then Maybank sold it to some other little volunteer department, and later on Mr. Bennett with the distributing company,
Mr. Bill Barrett of Coors Beer in Dallas,
bought it to use in parades and to ride the boys and girls. And I want to say this for Miss Jackson. She worked with Mr. Bennett
Barrett
in our beautification, our state beautification, and knew this gentleman. And he told Miss Jackson that he had Grand Prairie's fire truck. She came and told me that we could have it if we go get it. And I want to thank James Briggs with his trailer. We went over and loaded on his trailer and brought it to Grand Prairie, and we have it today And someday we hope to restore this for the citizens to see and have for our parades in Grand Prairie.
And that's the
really
first
do.
time anyone ever gave me a fire truck.
That's right. Gave Miss Jackson a fire truck.
Wonderful.
And we were grateful for this.
All
We really
right.
are.
All right, now, but that fire truck, let's get a little bit farther down the line. There's some things that happened after that time.
Yes. This, I would like to comment, if Red, this photo was the aerial truck that Grand Prairie bought from Dallas for us. And we did a little bit of tender love and care and put a tractor under it to pull it. We took theirs out from under it, of course. And the men would come down at Christmas time. Could be cold, and we'd run it out there while it was raining. They're grateful. And we would string the Christmas lights from the Central Fire Station down to 8th Street for the boys and girls and for the community. We'd string the Christmas lights all the way across the street. And this is what we used to do with.
And that's on Main Street in Grand Prairie?
That's right.
All
That's
right. Now, this is one of the most historic old photographs from the Dallas Morning News. I don't know whether Brad can pick up the picture of the little fire engine there of many long years ago, but let's try.
There's the truck. Now, this is a Model T that Grand Prairie bought from the American French people out of Elmira, New York. It's a hose and chemical truck, and they were very proud, and we was all proud to have this protection. And it shows, at the top picture is the water tower, the leg of it, and the pump station on Main Street, where this picture was, picture is showing from the water tower that they had. We had a 50,000 gallon overhead water tower, and it was put in 1918.
And where was this location?
This location of this truck was made on the side of the Grand Prairie garage, my daddy's building down there on East Main. But it was made there because in 21 is when he built the rest of his building. He was in business in 1912 and stayed in business till 41.
And he also ran a service station,
He sure
didn't he?
did.
And a garage.
He sure did, huh?
All right, the next one we must show and tell this and tell about that special young man there.
Thank you. This is the picture of my dad's building on East Main Street, and it shows us right there, Brad. It still shows the old fire department station down there. And if you'll notice from this signal light, there's a big siren up on top of a tower, and that's the way they would notify the volunteers to come to the station or go to the fire that somebody's house or building was on fire.
And J.C., while you're holding that up, would you tell them what is located at that place in Grand Prairie now on East Main?
That is a rug and salvage building, and there is a
Christmas
antique
Christmas store?
doors.
Finders keepers?
Yes, and that down on the end, was it a ladies'
Yes, it looks like a wicker shop.
Wicker shop for things, yes.
That's in the 200 block of East Main, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about
Now,
the young man.
Ms. Jackson, that's my baby brother. He was a volunteer, and in 42 he signed up with our Air Force, and he was assigned to the Southwest Pacific, and he was a bombardier on a B-24 that was built at North American. And he worked at North American right the 41 when they started. But they had to ditch that B-24 over the Pacific Ocean, and my little brother didn't make it back. But he was 24 when we lost him in the South Pacific.
All right, there's another side to this wonderful thing. Tell us about near Dallas. Did you participate in that?
Sure did. Thank you. This was sad, but we were able to go and give or do the best we could. I was with North American as a fireman, and our Hensley Field was just a stopover for our Air Force. And I was on the crash crew. I was in charge of it at North American Day. and Mr. Johnny Craighead was fire chief at Hensley Field, and he asked me to come to work and be the crew chief on their crash truck. And one Sunday, the Flying Fortress, a B-29, was going north over Oak Cliff, and it blew up in the air. It exploded in the air, and it hit into the Texas Company refinery on Singleton Avenue, or street. We left Hensley Field with our crash equipment and our personnel, and we were able to go in and help save some of the property that this big plane had crashed into. We were no way we could help the men on that, but it was sad. But we worked our way into this fire area and extinguished a lot of the fire.
All right, let's talk about some fires here in Grand Prairie, Texas, and we have two segments of that, but there's one I believe that you'd like to talk about.
This is the Texas Tire and Rubber plant, and one day, and it was in 1940, the Texas Rubber Company had some old automobile tires in their yard that they used to grind the rubber off of and make camels back. That's what they
Where
used.
were they located, J.C.?
They was on Jefferson and 3rd Street, right where the country store is right now.
7-Eleven is right there.
Right there at it. And at noon, there was a gentleman had some tires on his truck. He drove in and stopped between the driveway. It ignited, and it set 100,000 tires burning. And Grand Prairie and Arlington and Dallas all worked to extinguish this fire that was going on. And this, on this side, it shows some of our good men that was working. That's part of it on my left. One of them is John Henry. He was a volunteer, and we watered him down with a bucket of water. He was getting a little bit too hot. But this was something that burnt. Those tires burnt for about a week.
The environmental people wouldn't have liked that at all now, would they?
They certainly wouldn't back in that.
All right.
Now,
here's one of your more famous fires, and I believe that's the old Baghdad Club.
That's right, Miss Jackson. This was a spectacular fire for the Grand Prairie, and we still talk about the Baghdad fire. This was a nightclub built in 1928, and in '53, on a Sunday morning about 6 o'clock, we were called that the building was on fire. And this is on East Main Street, was on East Main Street, just joining Baghdad Street. There's a big vacant field there today that the Navy has purchased for a safety zone, and it has been fenced off. But this is a picture of the building.
All right.
This.
Go right ahead. I'll pick those up for you.
Thank you. Pardon me.
All right.
This one, of course, shows the fire consuming the building, and it was talked, or we had judged the building to be dangerous, and it was, and we didn't want anybody to go in it because it had a lot of things stored in there that was, it was more or less material that would burn bad or fur. So we didn't go in.
This one
now,
before that one.
This one is the men working on the building. At this time, it's just one part, as you can see, burning, but it didn't last too long. Now,
did they find out what caused the fire, J.C.?
Yes, we did. There happened to be a little space heater, a gas space heater, and this gentleman let some newspapers fall on it, and it got it had some curtains there on fire, and he had to get himself out. Now, this was Dr. Newton.
All right, Dr. Newton owned the place?
Owned the building.
I understand there were a lot of antiques stored in there.
They had some antiques. That's why we just couldn't go in and do anything, because it was all stored up. We couldn't get through the doors where they were secure and everything. That had trouble with the vandals.
Yes.
Now, this was the ballroom of that building. It was beautiful. It now. This, Miss Jackson, that top, that called that's hanging from the ceiling, that was $10,000, they say, in cost.
Of the Persian drapes?
The Persian grapes that they bought that.
That is beautiful. It was a lovely building. I've been inside the building for entertainment back in the good old days,
That's
J.C.
right. We sure did.
Yes.
We did. I think we had some high school classes reunions.
All right, now let's get into some of the part that you really do love, and that's some of the people you've served with.
I sure do. Let's
do this one first.
All right. This picture that our group of volunteers in 1952, these men were volunteers. There was at 52, I think there were about 4 of us paid in this group, but the rest of them volunteered their time to protect and help us with our fire protection.
Wonderful.
Now, this I'm proud of to show is 1949. That's our organization of our men and group in 49. That right after we moved into the new fire station when these picture was made.
All right.
Now, these gentlemen, that myself on the right, J.B. Anderson, J.B. Anderson, David Hale, and John Beeman. This is a wonderful organization of volunteers. The volunteers would elect their officers in their organization. I was great to be a paid fireman, a paid chief for the city, but these men would elect their officers, and this is some more of the men that were elected. There they are.
Very quickly, we're getting down to 5 minutes, J.C.
The 2 men in the center with their with their uniform without the white caps is James Little and Lewis Williams. They were my lieutenants.
All right.
Now, this is a great picture. This is my father standing in the middle with us. We wanted him in there. There's 15 of us there in 57. We had 15 paid men, and Dad was still our little chief, and we appreciate him very much.
All right.
This, I wanted to just call attention. This lady is Miss Small, my wife's mother, and she was the mother for the fire department. Jess Small was her husband, and these men have her there. We had a little birthday party for her, and the gentleman on my right is George Rogers. He was a chaplain, and on our left, there's a little boy there that's Powers, and his daddy is standing behind. That's Charles Powers. I'd like to mention those 2 people.
And that's the only picture we have with Ms. Lena Turner in it, and that's the former Mayor G.H. Turner and his wife with Lida Small.
Right. Grand Prairie had a building where the City Hall Annex is now. It was a community building, and we always had our firemen's banquet, and these gentlemen were at the head table. Our Mayor Turner, my dad is over on the left, Mother Small, and Don Small was the president at that time, and his wife, and Ms. Turner.
Can we skip these 2 and go on to some more?
Sure can.
J.C.,
this is good.
For many years, you all have helped the children in schools.
I have enjoyed having, we called it Government Day, wasn't it, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Government Day.
We would have the kiddos in high school to come down, and they would be fire chiefs, they'd be police chiefs, they'd be mayors, and we of the city were grateful, and we would be with them during that day that they were government.
My recently deceased brother-in-law, Milton Potter, is in this group, and that's the reason I wanted you to be sure and show that one. There's some more kids.
YMCA. This is the Grand Prairie Fire Training Field, and this is a drill tower. And this group is some CA group that we would have and show them our fire programs and how we would do things at the training field.
One good picture of your dad in that with my old fire engine.
This is the three men standing right there. Those three men standing beside Miss Jackson's fire truck that was given to her. The first one is my daddy. He has his hand on the instrument panel. The next one is Mr. John Stubbs, and the next one is Jess Small. The gentleman seated in the driver's seat is my first cousin. He's also a SWAT. But this is on the side of the building down there that my dad had. But that's our first real good fire truck.
Let's don't talk about this, but let's just show these pictures of these old fire trucks. This one on the bottom, Brad, is what we need to pick up. If you can get that far.
There it is.
Without the flash.
That's it. There you are.
All right, let's
down on the main street.
All right, let's get the next one.
This shows some of the operating and training, and that's Chief Langford and Captain Johnson, Bob Johnson, that picture there. I'm grateful for.
We're down to 2 minutes. Let's go. Let's pass that one up and go on to this one about your dad.
This is a group that was. They gave my dad and our police chief, Buster Adams, and myself I guess you'd call it a banquet, and this was the, well, that was a deal that they had our pictures.
There's a groundbreaking for the new fire department.
That's right.
Firehouse.
Fire station ground. There they are. Miss Berry and several of them, Marshall Water.
Okay, let's pass up these about some of these fires at the Wax Museum and Perkins Lumber Company. But let's show your new chief, shall we, as we kind of end this thing off?
Great, too. This gentleman that we're glad came to Grand Prairie, and he's going to do well and protect us. This is Chief David McCarty, and we're glad to have him. That's him talking to the firefighter.
And this is a wonderful old picture of school kids of the school right at the top. Can we get that one? And we're getting down into, let's show your beautiful jacket and tell about that.
I was elected in 1948 as the fourth vice president of the State Firemen's and Fire Marshal Association. That's all over Texas. And in 1953, I served as their president. And when you go through the chair, then you receive this jacket and a beautiful badge that we're all are proud of. And I was glad to be past president of the State Firemen and Fire Marshal Association. J.C.
Swadley, it's just been wonderful to have you show and tell.
Thank you.
We have hit only the high spots. We could do a 2-hour interview. We want to thank you for being so patient with us and letting us tear up all of your memorabilia here today.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, J.C.
Swadley.
Thank you
all. God bless you.
Congratulations for the 75th anniversary where you were honored as the very special guest and got a beautiful bell and all of the things that go with it.
Firemen of our department.
Thanks to Chief McCarty.
That's right.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live.